Welcome to The Actor's Choice, where the actors and actresses have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting by actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, direct from Hollywood, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi everybody, I'm Rob Bronstein, and welcome to The Actor's Choice, brought to you by Photography is an Art, Harvey Brandman, master photographer, located at 1307 North San Fernando Boulevard, Burbank, California. And attorney Ron Irwin's new book, High Co, Style, Passion, Heart, and author Larry Buford's book to the future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, and State Farm agent Carla Green, who says, and like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Roll it.
She's one of the most influential, widely read writers of the 20th century, and she never lived to see her book in print, or even to see her 16th birthday. We're talking about Anne Frank, a symbol of resilience and lost innocence in the face of the Holocaust. Anne Frank was born in 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany, the youngest daughter of a Jewish family. Hitler and his anti-Semitic Nazi party rose to power in 1933, and so the Frank family moved to the more tolerant city of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. In June of 1940, the Netherlands was invaded by Germany, and conditions for people there, especially Jews, began to deteriorate. The Franks tried to leave for the US, but were blocked from doing so by restrictive immigration policies. Later, on her 13th birthday, Anne received a simple present that would have enormous historical repercussions. It was a blank diary. In it, Anne chronicled her thoughts and feelings, writing about her family and friends and boys, all the kind of things you might expect from a young teenage girl. As Anne began her diary, the situation in occupied Netherlands worsened. Jews were stripped of their rights, forbidden from attending schools, from shopping at most stores, and from taking public transportation. They were subject to a curfew, and they were being sent to work in camps. Faced with these increasingly difficult circumstances, the Franks made a daring decision. They would go into hiding. Their hiding place? A series of unoccupied rooms above the warehouse of the company where Anne's father Otto had worked. In early July of 1942, the Franks fled to this secret annex, while leaving acquaintances to think they'd actually fled the country. The family would attempt to wait out the Nazi occupation. They had helped in a small group of friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you've just seen is background information concerning a young Dutch Jewish girl named Anne Frank, who has the distinction of being one of the most discussed Jewish victims of the Holocaust of World War II. Today, you'll meet an outstanding veteran actor who plays the role of Otto Frank, Anne's father. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rob Bronstein.
Okay.
Thank you. Good to see you here, man.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
And I want to thank your publicist. She's a marvelous lady. She always makes sure that we get nothing but the best. Thank you very much
Lucy's
for coming.
great.
Indeed. With a story like this, where do you begin?
I think you're asking me from two different standpoints. I think from an audience standpoint, you begin with history. You know, from an actor's standpoint, you begin with what's personal to you. And I think, from an audience standpoint, the rise of anti-Semitism, the re-rise all over the world and in our country is scary. And I think just goes to show that lessons, unfortunately, don't really get learned all the way. And that, history sometimes has a way of creating distance and forgetfulness. Then on the other side, from an actor's standpoint, what's personal? And I think for me, what's been happening has sort of made me think about being Jewish in a way that I honestly haven't thought about in years. I'm not sort of a secular Jew. It's, by birth, not necessarily by religion or anything, but it's made me really think about it. So,
If it makes you think, I hope a lot of other people think too.
one hopes.
Yeah. As we were just saying a minute ago, I don't know how people can think that the Holocaust didn't happen.
Yes, well, people like to rewrite history. As we were saying, no Jim Crow. Italians were welcomed with open arms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't have a great history, even though we're this amazing country of immigrants. We have a history of not necessarily being all that welcoming to each successive wave, and yet each successive wave has, in effect, created the beauty that is America. And I think what's happening right now is just it's scary.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, denying that beauty and treating people like not people. And I think at the end of the day, that's where we get in trouble. That's where anyone gets in trouble.
Rob, as we said at the early in the show, Anne Frank was a victim. What got you involved into this play?
I'd love to give you a great story, but honestly, it was an email from my agent. Their casting director, Amy, lovely person, had reached out, and she had cast me in a play years ago at the Skylight called Beautified, which was a wonderful, wonderful play about the relationship between a hairdresser and a client over sort of 40 years. And she reached out, and I was in Toronto shooting an episode of the new Star Trek Discovery when I got the email, and I said yes. It was that simple.
Okay. As I look at your background, graduated from Newtown High School in New York. I went to Aviation High School in New York.
Yes, I know. Newtown High School, you know, our claim to fame was that Don Rickles went there.
Yes, he
and
did.
I remember him coming for an assembly. And he came in, he jumped up on stage, called us all a bunch of hockey pucks, and left. It was about a minute long.
You studied drama and theater at Queens College
I did.
and the City University of New York.
Well, Queens College is part of the City University of New York, you know.
You studied acting at Beverly Hills Playhouse.
Amongst other places, yeah. That was sort of the last time I studied. I studied with an amazing man, Milton Katselis, in his Saturday class, which was sort of a class for working actors. And, you know, it's funny because we sort of had this thing in New York, which is where I'm from, where, you know, you study with someone for a year and you move on. And somehow I ended up staying with Milton for, geez, I think it was almost 12 years, and I ended up teaching for him. It's just really one of the great master teachers that there has been.
You're also a director. You're an acting coach and a teacher at an actor space.
That's my studio, yeah, an actor space. I love to teach. I love to pass on what I've learned over the years, the mistakes I've made, and you know, it's interesting because I had a student once who called me an acting geek. And I truly am. I love everything about it. And so being able to work on it with amazing actors, being able to take beginning actors and, you know, help them find their way through not just the work, but their careers is amazing. Directing has been so much fun. I actually stopped directing for a while to sort of raise my family because, you know, one of the joys of being an actor is actually being able to be home with your children. And but my kids are now 14 and 18. So once they sort of got old enough, I went back to directing, and I directed a wonderful production of a Mark Rylance play, Nice Fish, last year at Interact Theater Company, which wonderful reviews. And it was such a great play. Mark Rylance is amazing, you know, so it's fun.
It's fun. Okay. You play the role of Otto. He is the only surviving person of the Franks.
Yeah.
He was the father.
He was the father. He saw what was coming, and he owned this business, and he had this annex to his warehouse and offices, and they created a space behind there where they lived for a couple of years, you know, hidden away from the Nazis. It was behind a bookcase. And his family, Otto's family, the Franks, and the Van Pelses, and there were 8 of them all together, all lived there and hid from the Nazis. And a woman who worked for him, Miep, and her husband, they took care of him, brought him food, you know. Some of the people in the office knew they were there, others did not, because they would have turned them in. Yes. And, you know, sort of the sadness of the whole thing is that they almost made it. Yeah. They almost made it to the end of the war. And, you know, the last minute they got found out, and, you know, everything happened just at the very end. Sad. But he did survive, and I think part of it was taking care of everybody else. You know, sometimes that makes you stronger. And he was also an ex-soldier, but, you know, that was his deal, taking care of people.
How do you prepare for a role like this?
Well, I can only tell you how I prepared. I can't really tell you how other people do it. For me, there wasn't much, to be honest with you. I'm a father. I have 2 children. I can easily imagine what I would do and how I would feel in that case. And so I did the history and I did the research about him and his business and his relationship with his wife and kids and all of that. He was an amazing, amazing man. I mean, even before it all happened, he was a guy who ran a business and all his workers adored him. He was always helping people. So you do the research, but at the end of the day, it's what comes from your heart. And it was very easy to relate to. In fact, last night my daughter came and saw the show, and it was so interesting talking about my theatrical daughters with my real daughter in the house. Talking about them at concentration camps. Very, very difficult. So it's easy in that way.
How did they ever find her diary?
Well, as I was telling you, Miep, who was the secretary who worked for Otto, when the Nazis came and collected the family, they weren't interested in papers, so they made her leave her diary. So the irony is that whoever that was who was mean to this little girl and would not let her take her diary, actually created this gift to posterity of the diary. And so Miep found them and kept them till after the war. And when Otto got out, he transcribed them, and they published them very quickly, very, very quickly, and it became a huge sensation.
Let's see, she went to, after she got turned in, she went to Auschwitz.
Auschwitz, yes.
And then she went to Bergen-Belsen?
To Bergen-Belsen, where she died 2 weeks before they were liberated. Yeah.
I can never tell you about this. You're Jewish, I'm black. There's many things that we have in difference. But one thing that Jewish people always talk about, they always say, never again. What does that mean to you, sir?
Well, to be honest with you, the whole point, and you mentioned mixed race family. It's 2 white kids in my family. And so that, in my life growing up, talked about, to remember the Holocaust so it never happens again. And yet here we have people burning churches and putting children in cages and, So to me, never again is, all I can say is ... Yeah.
Well, all these credentials, you have, as an actor, as I read through your bio, I said the gentleman has been there with, again, over 85 credits. When you perform roles, you're also a director. How do you direct yourself when you got another director?
No, I don't.
Yes.
I don't. I just literally, when I'm teaching, I teach. When I'm directing, I direct. And when I'm acting, I act. It's. I have a wonderful teaching partner for one of the classes I teach, and Jolene Kay, and I love what she says. She says, "You're just the acting department," and that's it. When I'm acting, I'm just the acting department.
Okay. The renowned Simon Wiesenthal's Awesome Center here in L.A. brought the play here for a special reason. Can you tell us about that?
It's 90th anniversary. Anne Frank's 90th anniversary of her book and her death and all of that. It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's only 90 years already. People are forgetting.
June 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the deal. But, sort of combining with the question you just asked me, Eve Bronstein, who is the director of the play, this has been a project of hers that she's wanted to do for quite some time. And it just, finally, I think, coincided with the birthday and the Wiesenthal Center and what they wanted to do. And so it happened.
Yes.
But Eve is also an amazing director.
Yes, indeed. Okay. This is also the U.S. premiere. Any chance that this may go on the road, maybe?
I don't know. Again, it's not my department.
Gotcha. Maybe you might have heard it through the grapevine.
Through the grapevine, a great song. Well, I've heard, Eve told me that there was some talk at some point of the Museum of Tolerance in Jerusalem. I don't know what that, you'd have to really ask her about it. But I don't know.
Okay. No, how about the movie?
Again, it ain't my department.
Just asking. They call the play "And a New Play."
Why?
Yes.
Well, I mean, Anne Frank, the diary, the book. You read it in high school. You know, there's a play that's been around for years, a film that was made, but this is a sort of a new take on it. And you know, the take on it is, you know, for me, sort of I mean, we know how it ends, so it's a positive take, a sort of, you know, what would have happened, you know, had she not died. And so what in her imagination as she was writing, maybe she was thinking about what her life would be like after the war, being a writer, you know, and published, and I don't know, going to Paris or, you know, anywhere special. And, you know, our lives and our imaginations can be pretty powerful, pretty powerful. And so, so I loved this take, actually. When they sent me the script, that was one of the reasons I said yes right away. I love that this was such a positive take, a hopeful take.
Okay. We've got some pictures, photos of the other cast members. Tony, can you put that? Okay, starting with that one.
Yeah. That is actually a moment in the play where we find out that Margot, second daughter, has been targeted by the SS to go to a camp. That is the moment where we know we have to go into hiding.
Okay.
Yeah, and Ava, who I'm holding, is just the most delightful Anne Frank. She's a wonderful actress at UCLA, a junior at UCLA.
Okay.
Marnina, who plays the other daughter, is actually a graduate of UCLA. And Andrew, who plays my wife Edith, also a terrific actress, ran a theater in Orange County for many years.
Okay.
You know.
Next photo.
Yes, Tony, Fritz Pfeffer. Fritz was a dentist who was had a relationship with a Christian woman, actually. And he came into hiding and joined us. And took him a long time to become part of the family. The two sisters. Yeah.
Okay. Next photo.
All right. So that is Ava and Tim plays the publisher, the imaginary publisher that she, you know, is talking to during the play, and in Paris.
Okay. Excellent.
He's a wonderful actor. They're a really terrific cast.
Got you. Speaking of you, if I'll just take a moment, I have a copy of the review that came from BWW. A critic by the name of Gil Can wrote about you. He said, Rob firmly anchored Anne as Anne's father, Odo, a solid rock center of the Frank family and the people he shared their safe space with. Brownstein's Otto totally registers as a warm, smart, fair person anyone would be lucky to have on their side.
Should we ask my daughter if she would agree with that? She's sitting off camera. You can't see her. Would you agree with that? Yeah, she says yeah. Okay. I will drive you home now.
Yes. Okay. I noted, we have just a few months, I noted that the play can be seen by persons as young as 8 years and above.
Yeah, I mean, that's a personal choice. I mean, I have no, you know, if you're aware of what's going on, it's, I think, you know, some mature kids can handle that at 8. Gotcha. You know, I mean, my daughter's 14, and usually people start learning about it then. But again, it depends on your household. I mean, I knew about the Holocaust well in those days, you know, growing up in my house.
Gotcha.
You know, but it is definitely something that you should take your teens and your tweens to, and you should go to the museum.
Yes.
If you haven't been to the Museum of Tolerance, it's amazing.
Amazing.
And it's about everything, not just you know, the Jewish Holocaust. It's about what's going on now. It's about African Americans. It's about all over the world.
Yes.
Things going on. So it's really extraordinary.
Yes.
You know.
Okay. I understand. Can you go ahead and run that ad, if you will? We have a small ad that they gave me. I'd like folks to see this about how to get to the theater.
Cool.
Anne Frank, the teenage girl whose diary has moved and inspired hundreds of millions since it was published in 1947. Anne, a new play premiering at the Museum of Tolerance, is a compelling reimagining of her story as the world commemorates her 90th birthday, starting June 5th. Anne at the Museum of Tolerance, corner Roxbury and Pico in Los Angeles. a limited engagement starting June 5th. For tickets, visit museumoftolerance.com.
All right. Museum of Tolerance. The address, you have the address if you would.
I do. 9786 West Pico Boulevard, Los Angeles 90035. It's on the corner of Roxbury and Pico in West LA.
Okay. Free parking in the underground structure?
Yep.
Okay. I understand combination tickets are available to both the play and the Frank exhibit currently on display.
Absolutely, and I encourage people to do both. And if you can't do it on a given night, you just come back and see the museum because it's amazing.
Indeed. For more information and to reserve tickets, just
for more information, reserve tickets 310-772-2505 or www.museumoftolerance.com.
Yeah, excellent. We're out of time. I wish you had more time, but one quick question.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
Wow. I'm not exactly sure. I'm directing a reading of a new play, The Wait, at the Road Theater.
Okay.
And in a couple of weeks, the episodic television season starts up again. And, I guess we like to say we go back to work.
All right.
Yeah.
One quick question before
Yes,
you go,
sir.
sir. How do you want to be remembered?
Wow. I guess I'd like to be remembered as someone that mattered, that mattered in my profession, mattered in my teaching, mattered to my family, the people around me, and yeah.
Yeah. Rob, it's been an experience for me. I thank you very, very much for
pleasure, man.
stopping by. May I have your right hand?
Yes.
I have a silver dollar. I always give people
Oh,
a
my
trademark
goodness.
of good luck. Hope that you'll have good luck along the way.
Well, I appreciate
Yes,
that.
indeed.
1977.
Yes, I'm going to come over next week and see the play. Maybe
I would love that. Let me know. We'll go and chat afterwards.
You got it. Again.
All right,
thank you
a pleasure, man.
Very,
Thank
very
you so much for having me.
My pleasure. One of the things that we did, one event that happened about a week ago was the NAACP Theater Awards, and we did a little piece. Roll it.
Hi everybody, I'm Ron Brewington. We're here at the famous Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles because tonight is the 28th annual NAACP Theater Awards. Now all the guests have been coming in one by one. It's going to be a great show tonight, some great special awards tonight, and we're glad that we're here.
My first nomination as a director in theater. I am a recipient of the Image Award and the Image Award for Best Producing of a Documentary Film. Sing your song on the life of my father.
First nomination for this category, and I'm totally excited. It was completely surprised. It came out of the blue, but I couldn't be happy to be here.
I was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I was involved in a production called Five Guys Named Mo, starring Oba Babatunde, and I played the role of Four-Eyed Mo, and I'm honored to be here.
My show that I'm nominated for is ongoing, and it's going to be booked in July, August, and September again. It'll be shows number 36, 37, 38.
All right. There were awards presented in over 35 categories. Special awards were Trailblazer Award was given to veteran actress, producer, and director Viola Davis. The Theater Spirit Award was presented to Condola Rashad, daughter of Felicia Rashad. Lifetime Achievement Award was given to actress Lilias White, and the President's Award was given to Herb Wesson, who is the president of the LA City Council. We had a great time, and it's events like this that we like to bring to our viewers. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a short break, do some commercials, and we'll be right back. Okay. The The studio of Harvey Brandman Photography as an Art is proud to offer you a $100 discount off any photo package valued at $300 or more. Now, Harvey's been in the business for nearly a quarter of a century, and he certainly knows how to take care of his customers. So, please give him a call today at 818-954-9294. That's 818-954-9294. You'll be glad you did. And by the way, please tell Harvey that you heard about his offer right here on the Actor's Choice. Haiku Style. Passion, heart. It's the latest release from author and attorney Ron Irwin. Now, the book was inspired by the author's first exposure to haiku well over half quarter of a century ago. This experience produced within him a deep passion to experience Asia, which he later did as a U.S. Marine. The book is available in paperback at lulu.com. Now, Irwin says he'll give 20% of net book sales split evenly between the veterans of foreign wars and Vietnam veterans of America. Book to the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule. It's a new book by author Larry Buford. It's historical and faith-based account of how what we do and follow today will affect us tomorrow. The author also calls it an adventure for those who want to travel back through time. The book is now available in paperback for only $17.95 from Amazon. So please, get your copy today. And now, a word from State Farm agent Carla Green.
Let me ask you something. What do you see when you look at your home and your car? Do you see a bundle? A combo deal? That's how other insurance companies see them. But a State Farm agent sees so much more. Because the State Farm agent sees your home and your car as more than just four walls and four wheels. They see the things you've worked really hard for. So why not give them the protection they deserve? Let me help you with that. Give me a call. State Farm agent Carla Green, 213-239-9675. I look forward to speaking with you.
Thanks, Carla. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. For more information, 213-239-9675. That's 213-239-9675. Well, the two contests that we started last week and running through July 17th, we've had a lot of feedback coming in. You have a chance to win a pair of tickets to one of three summer-based films. So if you get an opportunity, look at our website and you can see exactly what we have to offer. The second contest is the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is hosting a tribute to director Michael Schultz. They will show the cult classic film from 1975, The Cooley High, and we're giving away 2 tickets for the event. Again, for more information, take a look at our website. We're at www.theactorschoicela.org/summer at the movies. That's www.theactorschoicela.org/summer at the movies. Okay? And finally, if you have a product or service or upcoming event that you'd like to see advertised on this program, please call 323-533-1036. That's 323-533-1036. Our prices are very affordable. Thank you. This is The Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington.
Spider-Man! Oh my God, this is it! Tell everyone to hang on! Brace yourself! Any more fight?
All right, that's our next guest today comes from Chicago. He later studied at Fordham University in New York and studied theater arts at Boston University. He's done television, movies, you name it, he's done it. And guess what? He recently celebrated his birthday. Roll it.
Uh-oh. Hello. I should be in Cabo San Lucas watching this.
All right.
That's great. That's
Happy
great.
birthday.
Thank you. Sung now live on television. There you go.
There you go. I love to do the research for these shows. You find out all kind of things about a person. You've been in this business for a while. You got your first IMDb actor credit for the TV series Crime Story in 1986. Remember that?
Yes, I do. It's a funny story about that was that I was originally flown to Chicago for The Untouchables.
Okay.
And they got Robert De Niro set up as Al Capone. I mean, as Bob Hoskins as Al Capone.
Okay.
And I went in to read for Frank Nitti, and they were like, "You look a lot like De Niro when I was younger," and all that.
Right.
And so, on the way back to the airport, my agent goes, "They're doing a new TV show, a mob show," and I'm thinking, "Oh no, another gangster." And as it turned out, it was a great different role to play a editor of a Chicago paper. So I was friends with Stephen Lang, and I became his buddy on the show. And then Pam Grier, I was her boss. Wow. And of course, I loved watching Pam Grier all those years. I worked with her. So it was great. It was a great experience. And then a lot of Chicago local actors. So to go home to start your career in television and film was incredible for me. Wow. Just incredible.
Incredible. You've got over 50 credits. You've been doing it a long
Just in America, yeah, that's right.
There's more? You've done other countries?
Europe, yeah. I've worked in Italy, Greece, Japan, yep. And God knows what other countries I'm not even aware of yet.
What's the differences in these countries as you go from country to country?
Well, you know, I think that we're very disciplined here in America in terms
Yes.
of filmmaking because time is money. Not that
Right.
it isn't in the other countries, but I think there's a reason why we're number one for filmmaking because of the way we run our productions. And there's something to be said also for the European style of filmmaking that's a little bit more loose, improvisatory, if you will. A little bit more room to breathe, I would say, kind of like the way theater is. Okay. But again, time is money, so everything is so locked in with production when you're filming in America. Okay. And it's, again, more organized, and I like to think that that's why we're the leaders. We really know how to run the show.
Got you. Okay. Let's go back in your career, early beginnings, playing basketball during college, huh?
Yeah. Everyone thinks first off, I'm Italian from New York. But let's just come out right with it. I'm Greek from Chicago. Not even the Greek community even knows that one yet. And,
that's Greek to me.
That's right. And yeah, I thought I was going to be a basketball player.
Yes.
My uncle and my godfather were really terrific players. And my uncle was an award-winning basketball player at Loyola as well. So they thought, wow, he's 13 years old. He's 5'11". He's going to be a star. And then I grew a half an inch since then. and the coach at Boston University, I remember one day I was goofing around the gym. I think you might have heard of him, Rick Pitino. I don't even know if Coach Pitino remembers this. And he says, "I heard you're a pretty good actor." So that set my career in the right direction.
Also, you do a little martial arts?
Yeah, I was really in love with the martial arts. And it's a weird thing because Bruce Lee was kind of my idol as a kid growing up. The Green Hornet. You know, you'd think it'd be Marlon Brando or someone like that. And they were. But Bruce Lee really influenced me because I thought he was kind of edgy, dangerous, charming, and funny, and all the above.
Yes.
And then later I got to go full circle with that and get to meet his son, Brandon. We studied together, which was kind of a blessing from the sky to have Brandon touch my life.
Okay. Also, Fosse-style jazz?
Yes, at Phil Black Studios in New York. When it wasn't so cool, I still went anyway while I was doing martial arts, while I was studying directing and acting and stand-up. And I learned to be a jazz dancer. And in my group were some really top dancers along the way. But I always say I'm an actor, director that danced. I wouldn't even put myself in the category of these dancers that will. And that show recently was incredible. Fosse Verdon, those two actors.
Oh, God, yes.
Just pulled it off beautifully, I thought.
Amazing. Days have changed. I mean, you used to be back in the old days as an actor, to be or not to be.
Yes.
Those days are gone.
No.
You got to dance. You got to do all kind of things.
Yeah.
Scenes, crazy scenes, wild scenes, sensuous scenes. I'll leave that alone. Moving straight on straight ahead. As I reviewed your bio, Peter, I noticed that you have, besides the 50 credits,
Yes.
I always like to break it down. You have 30 TV series, 15 films, 3 TV movies, and 2 shorts.
And that's just on IMDb, and they're not even updated.
And that's just what they showed me. You like TV series, huh?
Well, you know, I love theater. That's
Yes.
my roots.
Yes.
The theater was where I started. I started as a director at Circle Repertory Company
Yes.
under a wonderful guy named Rod Marriott,
Right.
who influenced me, and I was able to see a lot of development when they brought 2 young men, Gary Sinise and John Malkovich,
Gary
to do
Sinise.
a little play called True West that influenced my life.
Yes.
And so that was a big part of my growing up. But of course, a very dear friend of mine, when I was working at his clothing store, once said to me, "If you don't go to L.A., I'm going to fire you and give you the money to go to L.A. You got to get into TV."
Yes.
And then Crime Story was my first real appetite in Chicago with that, and I realized that the work at the time was Los Angeles. Now it's changed tremendously.
Yes.
But that was the place to go and to have your career move forward, if you will.
What's it now, East Coast or West Coast?
I'm still a firm believer if you really want to be a theater actor, you need to go to the East Coast.
Broadway.
And if you want to be a television actor, the West Coast. But all bets are off because, well, lead into this thing is now I teach now, and I've been teaching in San Francisco and Los Angeles.
All right.
We have the #1 studio in San Francisco, my partner Robert Zimmerman and I. And we now have a studio called ZA Studios here in Los Angeles. And we're trying to expand even further. And I focus obviously a lot more on theater, that's my background. But we have a lot of wonderful training here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And the same for New York as well. I think it's kind of crossed over in every field. But they still come, I think, to these 2 cities.
Right.
As much as there's work in other places, people still come to America to study, and they come to New York and Los Angeles.
Okay. These young kids, I see them all the time,
Yes.
and you're talking to someone right now, they want to get in this business. They don't understand the work that goes, and sometimes you have to deny yourself. You have to do all kind of crazy things.
Correct.
Remember back in the old days, not to say we're old, but back in the
Yes,
old
we
days,
are.
when you'd be a waiter or a waitress and be discovered by a producer.
Yes.
Those days don't happen anymore.
Well, I think you have to have something. You have to pay the bills,
Yes.
whatever way you can. And you don't have to be the starving artist. There's many, many ways. For example, in the Bay Area, a lot of our students are in tech field, and they make, I think, a very good living. And I always say to them, "You sure you want to do this?
Right.
You sure want to get into acting?" But, you know, I'm also influenced because of my sports background. My cousin's a sportscaster in Fox in Chicago, and I had privy to watching Michael Jordan practice with the Bulls a lot during their heyday. And, you know, I go back to the old adage of hard work.
Okay.
Denzel recently at the AFI tribute to him, they showed the Dillard speech of just hard work. And I agree with him that somehow that's been lost a little bit.
Yeah.
People think 6 months and I'm in, or it's good. And you just need to practice, practice. Michael Jordan was the first and the last to leave. So if he can do that, if Al Pacino can, which I was privy to watch, rehearse while he's filming something and do a play on Broadway and still come to rehearse, what's going on with you and I?
Well, you know,
Hard
Peter,
work.
you're not just dropping names. You say Al Pacino. You've been around a lot of people. Name some of the people you've been around.
Well, one of my first jobs out here, I work with Peter Falk, Patrick McGowan. I had the pleasure to work with Sam Shepard, Barbara Hershey early on. Taylor Hafford gave me one of my first breaks. I worked 3 times with the wonderful director Martin Campbell on film. On stage, I worked with many directors. Sharon Ott had a big influence on me when I did a tour of Anna in the Tropics. And how could I go without saying my mentor, Milton Katselas, who had a tremendous effect on me as a teacher and as a director and as an actor. Okay. So he's able to help me juggle all 3 of those things and encourage that in many ways. And so I still hear his voice.
All right.
And of course, always the positive things,
right.
but yes.
1996. You on a show called Seinfeld.
Yes.
Please tell us about that, sir.
Gee, I never hear about that one. Yeah, that was a fun one. Ironically enough, in my short time at Boston University there, I became friends with Jason Alexander.
Okay.
And it took him a while for me to remember this for him, but he was my center fielder on my softball team. Yes, you were. You forgot, but you were. And anyway, we worked together on the show, and so that was like a nice introductory. And the voice off stage speaking Italian with me, Randy, who was the stage manager of the show, was a guy I played basketball with at the Y. So it felt a little comfortable when I got there right away, but I wasn't a fan of the show because I didn't watch it really.
Right.
And then I became a fan afterwards, and I was lucky enough to work with Andy Ackerman, and the whole cast is just incredible.
Right.
And of course, Larry David's last shows. So that was kind of special, I think. And I learned quite a bit from that group. Quite a bit.
Quite a bit. Folks, you don't know this. This gentleman sitting right here, this young man, let me read this. You are the master of over 95 accents worldwide and a dialect coach?
I am. And right now, matter of fact, I've been doing actually over in LinkedIn in San Francisco, accent classes and accent reduction classes. I've been doing it on and off for many years, but I'm about to take a tour of it, bring it to Chicago and New York and back to Los Angeles. Okay. And part of that came about because when I was a young actor and director in my building in Queens, like your previous guest, I was in a building of 550 people, and a third were concentration camp survivors from all over the world. And it affected me tremendously emotionally. And I have a gift in my ear. And my fellow lobby friend is the wonderful Hank Azaria, who is on The Simpsons, who did a wonderful job as well with accents and voices, I think. So we would just goof around the lobby, imitating everybody and doing their accents and their voices, but really getting them, not just a mimicry like you'd see in a Saturday Night Live skit,
yes.
but really understanding like their behavior, their body, and why they're like this. And I think that helped me as a character actor, which is why I would become what they call a character leading man of understanding what you're doing as an artist and really getting into the specificity of it. So one of my favorite things I like to say when I've had meetings, when they say, can you do a Greek accent or a Spanish accent? I go, what kind? And they're always shocked. I go, well, there's many accents to each region.
Wow.
So
how do you practice to keep in shape?
People. I listen. I sit in cafes. I listen to taxi drivers or Uber drivers nowadays from Russia, wherever they're from, depends. And no, they're all over the place. So you go to New York. To me, New York is the best thing. Just walk the streets of New York. Sit down in Little Italy. One of the things that we did when I was directing this off-Broadway show is I took my cast to the Bronx. I took them on a journey. Because I said, John Patrick Shanley, the writer, is from this neighborhood. So we were walking around, and they were hearing the actual dialect of the Bronx, and they never understood that there's a different accent in the Bronx.
Right.
It's a very tight jawed attitude from the Bronx, very different from Brooklyn or Queens or Manhattan. And we were talking with this one guy. It was very funny. And I'm talking to the guy. I said, do you mind if I put you on Facebook? And the guy goes, I'd rather not. I think people are looking for me. So that was kind of fun.
Get me coming to jail.
But go to the streets. I tell young actors, don't go to other movies. And don't go to what you think are your lessons on YouTube and Facebook. Go to the streets. Find documentaries. Find newsreel footage of real people around the world. And listen to them being interviewed. Whether it's the BBC, whether it's Al Jazeera, whether it's NBC television, all these things. And listen to their speech.
Who is the real Peter Alliss?
Still figuring that out. My teacher used to say there's a Greek phrase, and in English it's basically know thyself. And I think that we're always working on yourself and understanding more about who we are. And I find that as I've gotten older, and now that my stepdaughter is 20 years old, I'm more sentimental and more emotional and more sensitive to things. Maybe because I've just got more compassion in my life. I'm not that tough, edgy Chicago South Side guy or New York guy, and I've seen so much of the world. I've lived all over. I live in every corner of the United States, and like the previous guest said, I think we're going through some really interesting. I like the word interesting times. I don't like to say tough times because my grandparents went through tough times as immigrants, and I'm sure your family did, and many others. So that's not fair to say. But I do think that the more we're aware and more sensitive, and I think that's where art can help. And I heard you ask the question before is, how do you want to be remembered? And I always say that I think it's important that our art makes people think and feel and have a conversation. There's nothing wrong with a fun sitcom. There's nothing wrong with that, or a funny movie, and I'm the first to enjoy any kind of action movie, but I like to think that we go to theater particularly to have an effect on us and feel it's like a church, if you will.
Yes. Let's fast forward to 2006, The Sopranos.
The other one that no one ever mentions, yes. It's always, I know you from somewhere, yes. And that was a fun one. That was a fun one because, as you know, I speak Italian and I have a little different dialects, but I didn't really speak Neapolitan. There's a funny story behind that was I was supposed to originally be up for a different role and I had a meeting and I couldn't do it. I was under contract at ABC, and for many reasons I was not able to play the original role, which was a fantastic role of a Sicilian gangster. So what happened was later David Chase remembered me for a couple of other parts, and I didn't really want to die. I wanted to be around. And then this other role came up, so I had the meeting with Georgianne Walken in New York, and I remember in the office she told everybody, if you don't speak Neapolitan, don't waste my time. I'm not mad. I just got to cast this role, and she was right. So I watched a bunch of actors just scurry out like mice out of the room. And I went, I better get this thing down quick. So I pulled off just enough, and I immediately went down to Little Italy, and I found a lady carving an apple in Little Italy on Mulberry Street. And I said to her, I'm an actor. I said, I'm a journalist discussing linguistics. Can we talk? And we talked, and I learned Neapolitan within about 12 hours. And then, of course, I did pure Neapolitan, and we did the table read. And we did the table read, and I never broke character. And at the very end, bless his heart, rest in soul, Jimmy Gandolfini and Tony Sirico and Michael Imperioli come up to me and they go, so how long have you been in America? And I said, my whole life. And they go, oh, we thought you were off the boat. I said, no, off the plane. I came from LA back in. Anyway.
Are you going to ever write a book about all these things? Because you can make a lot of money selling that. A lot of people want to be like you.
I don't know about that. I'm not like Mike. I can tell you that right now. God, that's a good. It's funny you say that. No, I learned a lesson a long time ago, and this is the lesson I have. That's why I'm a teacher now, and that's why I went back to San Francisco with my partner Robert Zimmerman. I felt it was important to give back. My mentor said to me once, and I remember I was working really hard. And I said, why do I got to help everybody else? He goes, because you have the capacity to give more than others.
Gotcha.
And I think about those that are either less fortunate, and teaching has influenced my life in many ways and made me a better director and artist. My mother was a teacher, and she's in the book of Who's Who's. And she had a tremendous effect on my life because she has a tremendous amount of patience, more than me. So she taught me to be a better teacher. So that's my way to give back, is to give through my teaching.
Gotcha.
I believe.
2007, you did The Last Sentinel.
That was, I think it was it PM Entertainment? Yeah. Might be there and gone. Yeah, one of my action movies.
Speaking of action, let's see some action. Roll it.
Uh-oh.
In a world where war has become a way of life, a new breed of enforcer has come to reign. But now, those sworn to serve and protect are driving the population to extinction.
You are the last of the last. Fight hard! And fight to the last round!
What seemed the perfect defender for mankind may now be his and her doom.
Peter, we're running out of time, but we did know that one of the last movies that you did, at least according to IMDb, was the Father Africa?
Yeah, it's a small little movie I did when I was living up in Seattle. A really young filmmaker approached me about playing a Spanish soccer coach of these kids. It's a nice little story about a kid that, I'll give you the condensed version.
Gotcha.
He basically thinks that he's this kind of real white-raised kid in Seattle, and it turns out that his father is actually African-American, and it starts off one way, and it turns another. It's a really great lesson about bigotry and about friendship, and that's why I really want to be a part of that movie.
Gotcha.
It's a small, like I said, small family kind of movie with lessons. And then right after that, I kind of took a hiatus for a while from acting, but I've worked a lot with David Mamet,
Okay.
and more directing has been my focus. I directed a play called All the Way, which we were up for many awards in San Francisco for Best Production, Best Actor, and directing has been more of my passion over the years. But I took a little dip back into acting to do an interesting little film to play Allen Ginsberg. I know you're looking at me like Allen Ginsberg, huh? That's part of why the gray and chain things show the age difference.
Yes.
It's a nice little film, directed by women, produced by women, written by women. And I didn't actually work with her, but I believe Lena Dunham was also attached, playing Andrea Dworkin in later years, who was friends with Allen Ginsberg. So, yeah, I like things that are challenging over the years to go back to.
You got to come back. I mean, you got. I'm gonna tell AJ Edelman, your PR man. We got to bring you back here.
Well, I get free pens and shirts. So
And you also get a silver dollar.
Hey.
But good luck.
Wait, do I do my little magic trick if I can still do it like that? There we go. I still got it in, man.
All right.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. Special thanks to our sponsors, Harvey Brandman, Photography is an Art, Ron Irwin's Haiku, Style, Passion, Heart, Larry Buford's Book to the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, and State Farm Agent Carla Green. Much thanks to our guests today, actor director Rob Bronstein and actor Peter Alliss. Please, please come back again, if you will. And of course, to people that we see out there, our fans, our ever-growing fans, we thank you very much. We'll talk to you next time.